Alright, so what are we talking about?
Are the big three necessary to do?
For who?
That's the thing. That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if we're talking about beginners to the gym, I suppose, then no, because the big three, squat, bench, and deadlift, that is, they're a high skill movement. Powerlifters do them wrong. Most powerlifters, especially in Ireland anyway, they do them wrong. There's so many different moment arms in play. Hip to the bar, your knee is moving, your hips are moving, the bar is on your back and you have to stabilize it in a certain way. Somebody who's just come from a desk job, maybe they work in AIB, they've been there since, I won't name drop, they've been working there since, they're working a 9 to 5, let's say, and they're always in this position. Their hips are getting tighter, their hamstrings are shortening, their core is getting weaker, their back is going into, their upper back is in kyphosis, so your upper back is rounded.
Yeah.
Before you train that person through the movement, you have to change the way their body functions first. If you put somebody who's naturally in a rounded upper back position and their hips are tighter, and then you try and make them extend, they won't know how, first of all, because they've never done it before. They're so used to being like this. You can't just put a bar on their back and expect them to extend and know what to do.
Yeah.
So you have to start with a simple movement, so like a goblet squat, or even a split squat, even just a lunge. Yeah, exactly. Do a movement test before.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And then the bench press. A lot of people say, their bench press hurts their shoulders, they can't wide grip bench. Everyone says closer grip bench, not touching the chest, that doesn't hurt their shoulders, which is true, but you have to look at why that is true to start off with. Don't just write off a wide grip bench and use a blanket statement like wide grip benching is bad for your shoulders. It's not, if your scapula moves right, so like your shoulder blades. Most people, like I said, in that hunched over position, they don't know how to use their scapula or their shoulder blades. Once they regain that strength and they learn how to use them, pressure comes straight off the shoulders, because the scapula and your shoulder blades, your serratus anterior, the one in here, that's a stabilizer for your shoulder, and that moves your shoulder. Like everyone thinks the shoulder is just like the front delt, the side delt, and the rear delt, but it's not. There's the rotator cuff inside, and then people who know about the rotator cuff, they also say, oh, that's just the shoulder. Yeah, that's the shoulder joint. You don't look at the knee and say, oh well, that's the only thing I need to worry about. No, you look at the quads, you look at the hamstrings, the calves, the IT band, then you look at the hips. Same thing with the shoulder. You look at the scapula, you look at the neck, even you look at the pecs as well. You even look down through the arm. So again, something like a regression in the movement just to get them starting off. Like a dumbbell bench or even a decline dumbbell bench would be,
because it's easier to almost retract.
Exactly.
Not.
Yeah, it's easy. They're learning a variation of that movement. But even if if it's just somebody who wants to get a little bit fitter and stronger and toned, they don't have to use a barbell at all.
True.
At all. Deadlifting, it's a good movement. Nobody has to do it unless you're a powerlifter.
Yeah. I'm going to be devil's advocate here though.
Okay.
And it does depend on your goals whether you should do the big three. That's a very valid point for people, the average person in a desk job or something. It is likely unsafe unless they're properly coached and cued to go straight into doing the big three. It won't be just the big three, it'll be other things as well, but if you want to be a powerlifter, obviously you have to do the big three. If you want to be a strongman, not necessarily, but that's just another example. They're the most time tested exercises, obviously. Doesn't mean you have to do them. But one thing, Dr. Mike, I was listening to this morning, Dr. Mike Isoto, he said that basically, I'll put my spin on his information, but it's just, I'm using him as a source. So he was like, if someone wants to just get big arms, they should at least train 1 year most of their body or all of their body,
Mhm.
like, to get like a foundation of jackness.
Mhm.
Now, you could say a year, you could say 2 years, whatever, like a couple of years anyway of novice type training, you know, like to get into it, get your newbie gains or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you're an older person, to build up a foundation, I suppose, and
Mhm.
that's, you know yourself, like strength is correlated with, you know, hypertrophy. So
Mhm.
if you're stronger at these time-tested compound movements, you know,
Mhm.
it'll carry over is such a buzzword, but
Mhm.
like still,
Yeah.
I can't think of a synonym, but carry over to other things.
Mhm.
And for example, I train like that, even though I don't see myself competing, at least for the next while.
Yeah.
Don't kill me. No. So I just train like that because I choose, and also because I want to maximize my sort of gains, both strength and hypertrophy wise.
Mhm.
And I do enjoy that type of training. That is a separate reason.
I just wanna pick one thing out of what you said there, like building a foundational level of strength before you get into the more complex movement, like a squat, bench, or deadlift. One example I'm going to use for that is I can't remember where he's from. It's one of the Eastern European countries. Ilian, probably I'd say top 3 best Olympic weightlifters of all time. He's thrown hundreds of kilos above his head. Eventually popped for steroids when his samples were retested. However, his skill level cannot be denied. He had some of the most perfect technique on planet Earth in Olympic weightlifting. And I can't remember where, so don't quote me on this one, but he described his training before he ever got into Olympic weightlifting, because in Russia and all those Eastern European countries, they have it's like a schooling system for Olympic weightlifting to weed out the people who are never going to be the number one.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, not everybody can be number one. It's just genetics, it's just facts. And what they do is they do not have these people touch a barbell until they've been through years and years of basic training. They build up foundational levels of physical attributes. So like they get them to run. They start to run to build up their fitness.
Yeah.
They do basic bodybuilding stuff, but with perfect movement. They're not worrying about weights. They're just worrying about perfect movement. Then only once they're 12, 13, 14 do they ever touch a barbell for Olympic lifting. Because Olympic lifting is such a high skill sport. But by the time they touch a barbell, they're so skilled at everything else that it doesn't matter that they get the technique in a year. 2 years of Olympic weightlifting, they're Olympic world champions.
Yeah. That's redefining building a base, because I restricted it to just the gym, barbell, dumbbells, things like that. So that's fair. However, they are very young, so would they even be using weights when they're 12, 13? Do you know?
No.
Ideally not, but that's very true.
Yeah.
And we all know the Russians are sick, so yeah, they do it for the soul, Dave.
They do it for the soul.
Did you hear how,
No.
that's something they say, but
They do it for the soul.
They do this thing where deadlifters, they don't walk over the bar, they walk around it or something. It's like an honor thing.
Oh yeah, never walk over a bar.
Yeah.
Never walk over a bar. Ever. If you see somebody's if they're deadlifting in the gym and you see them, never walk over their bar, walk around it. That's disrespect of the highest order.
That's fair.
It pisses everybody off. If you're in the squat rack and there's a pull-up bar and that person is not squatting for the 2 minutes that they're resting, do not do fucking pull-ups in their squat rack. That is disrespectful. It is the exact opposite of good gym etiquette.
My man.
Hate that.
Next video on gym etiquette. Etiquette coming soon.
Oh yes, please.
But that's fair. I spoke from basics, but that's what is thrown around on online a lot with the, like, let me define that. Like I was just saying, like the whole building the base and the time tested movements, because it is a fair point. They're like massive compounds. Like whether you trust EMG or not, the deadlifts activates the most muscle or whatever. But obviously that's not my only evidence. But like these are sick movements, and I know you love them, but you of course would bring an unbiased approach, and that's what this discussion.
I love them because they're fun, and I'm a powerlifter. I preach, and I'm well aware of the fact that not everybody has to do them. Like some of the highest skilled people, fittest, strongest, most powerful people on earth are MMA fighters. Okay, if you get them to do heavy barbell squats and deadlifts, that has absolutely no carryover to what they're doing, and they don't need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about context. It's all about what the person is doing,
For sure.
and will the movement allow them to do their sport better. That's why rugby players do box squats.
Yeah. Or
Okay?
like trap bar deadlift.
Trap bar
and shit,
deadlift,
yeah.
because it's easy. No coaching has to go into it, and it's a very low risk of injury.
Mhm.
If you spend the 6 months to a year to teach those rugby players how to squat and deadlift properly, it probably would not be as effective
Yeah.
towards
Wouldn't
their
be
strength
beneficial.
conditioning on the rugby pitch in the long run, because you've taken so long to teach them the
Here I
movement.
go, here I go, here I go.
Get most bang for your buck.
I remember I
Okay,
did
then chill.
S&C, and we'd always do front squats, and then I'd do back squats after.
Mm.
So yeah, it does. It's a very valid point, like.
To build up their physical fitness. Fuck off. Been holding in this cough. Sorry, man.